Thank you, Chairman. I want to thank Senator Ernst for her questions. And I just have to say, this is dumbfounding. President, if you're listening, the fact that since December of 2013, we have not had a permanent inspector general in the VA. I mean, I can't tell you what happened in Iowa, what happened in Arizona, what happened in Wisconsin, what's happening in New Hampshire. We spent a lot of time on the floor last summer trying to come up with a reform bill, and now we're trying to hold the VA accountable to actually give veterans choice. With private care in my state, we just had a huge forum the other day, and on problems that we're having in even having the VA implement this law. And the President of the United States has not nominated since December of 2013 a permanent inspector general. To me, this is something that I would think every American, Democrat, Republican, Independent, would care about. And of all the priorities that the President could have, I mean, Mr. Epstein, you mentioned it. He used the Vacancy Act to fill the NLRB. Well, we're talking about veterans who are suffering, veterans who have died, you know, and I think there's whatever we can do, Mr. Chairman. But, Mr. President, if you care about our veterans, you have submitted a proposal of someone, as I understand. It's not on your end. SIGI has submitted recommendations of individual or individuals who could serve in this position, correct?
That's correct.
So it's in the President's lap right now. And it seems like our veterans deserve action on this immediately by the President of the United States. And I didn't come here today to make this speech, but in listening to all this, I just cannot believe it that this would be vacant since December of 2013. Of all the things that we are trying to get right for those who have done so much for our nation. So that said, I was very interested, Ms. Bryan, in terms of, you said you've had some serious concerns with the current acting right now at VA. Could you help us with what those are?
Sure. Well, in addition to your own committee having had your direct engagement and concerns with, and also the House having concerns about the operations of that shop, we shared all of the senators' concerns when news of the failings of the Veterans Administration was coming forward. And we at POGO thought, what can we do to sort of help shed light on how could this be sort of systemically a problem across the agency. And so we launched, we worked with Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America and launched a website that said, if you work inside the VA, could you let us know, like, what is your sense of what's happening? So, so we could have a better understanding of what could be done to fix the agency. And incredibly, we got 800 people come forward. I mean, it was an astounding number of people. And I think it's important to recognize in this case, this shows how many people there are who work inside the system, who care deeply about the mission of the VA, who were risking by coming forward and saying, I'm a doctor at this facility, I'm a tech at this facility, this is what I'm seeing. They came forward to give us a sense so that we could help them do something about it. Within weeks, we were contacted by the VA IG, who asked us for the names of the people who had come to us. And we said, well, of course we're not going to give you the names of the people who are coming to us, but we're very happy to work with you to give you a sense of what we're learning. We were then immediately met at the door with a subpoena from the acting VAIG demanding the identities of the whistleblowers who were coming forward to try to help fix their agency. So POGO remains unwilling to abide by that subpoena, but for us, it was indicative of the flawed priorities of that office, that it was more important to them to sort of identify who the whistleblowers are than it was to encourage anyone to help try to figure out what the problems are.
Well, let me just commend POGO for refusing to comply with that subpoena, because when people come forward as whistleblowers, the notion that the VA would be more focused on identifying the whistleblowers versus the underlying problems, I think just demonstrates Exhibit A of what we're dealing with and why it's so critical that we actually get a permanent IG. with this agency. And you think about all the things that we do. Our veterans, you know, they've served our country, they put their lives on the line, they've done so much. And you'd think that that would be the one area we would prioritize. It's not a partisan issue. I wanted to follow up, Mr. Horowitz, in terms of this idea, and I heard from listening to Mr. Epstein and Ms. Bryan, this idea of a conflict, it sounds, when we have an acting IG. It seems like we're put in this, they're put in this situation where the acting IG has to curry favor with the agency head, and then, or there's a potential that that could happen. And that creates these challenges that obviously undermine what the purposes of what SIGI and the IGs are trying to accomplish. Can you comment on that? And also, as in your role, do you feel you have sufficient authority to have oversight over these acting IGs and to be able to take proper action if you think that one of them isn't performing the way that you believe they should?
So with regard to the first question, Senator, I think one of the challenges for any acting IG, no matter how good they are, is that perception that they are the acting individual. They don't come with all the protections that I do as a confirmed IG with the IGX independence that comes with it. And that's a challenge, I think, for an acting IG, no matter how strong they are. And as I said before, I had somebody serving as an acting for 15 months before I arrived. She did an outstanding job. But that's always going to be the perception, both within the organization and external to the organization, because nobody knows, are they getting the job? If they're not interested in the job, when is the person who is getting the job coming in? All that uncertainty that is there exists. With regard to the second issue, SIGI, by statute, I don't have authority over the other IGs or acting IGs for that matter. They have independence.
So who's the watchdog on that?
Well, if there's allegations of wrongdoing, that would go to the Integrity Committee, which is chaired by the FBI, and we've had discussions with the committee, this committee and on the House side, about concerns that have existed with regard to the Integrity Committee, but they would be the ones that would get any referrals of complaints about misconduct-related issues over acting IGs. That's not, the chair is not empowered of SIGI to do anything with that.
Ms. Bryan, I know you wanted to comment on that.
I just wanted to add to Mr. Horowitz, but of course the Congress is also the watchdog, and Congress often has done a terrific job at playing that role of doing the staff doing great investigations into problems with the IG offices.
So I know that my time is up, but last Congress we were so worried, myself and Senator Bozeman, Senator Shaheen, we actually introduced a piece of legislation that if the positions weren't filled within 210 days of the vacancy under the law, that the authority to fill would then be transferred to Congress. And that would eliminate this sort of idea that maybe the executive branch doesn't, has a disincentive to have real rigorous oversight. And I think that's something that we should revisit and consider looking at some other model that makes sure that we actually get these things filled, and also that we think about this idea of a potential conflict. So I thank all of you for being here.